Come, let us explore this dawn's meditation class and group practice that we too could meditate like a Jedi. This morning's lesson is based on the ancient text known as the Unwaning Victory Banner, composed oh so many centuries ago by the great Buddhist reformer Prahe Vajra of ancient Odhanaya, which is now known as the Swat Valley of Pakistan. Together, let us relaxingly recite. Contemplation of the Great Attainment is a non-reflective contemplation. Beyond the experience of reflection and purification, pristine awareness arises from discursive thought itself. In the words of South Park, what? So what I'm going to do is amplify or adapt the text. You know it's morning when your mouth feels the way you imagine the way a petri class or petri dish looks. All right. Meditation upon the Great Attainment is non-reflective meditation. Okay, one moment. Okay, having edited, I think I should make sure that the formatting still holds. Wasn't there a book by the great American author Joan Didion that the center will not hold? That sounds like me during Buddha bowing. Okay, here we go. Take two. Great Attainment meditation is a non-reflective meditation beyond the experience of reflection and purification. Pristine awareness arises from discursive thought itself. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Okay. Close enough for government work. Let's begin with the first couplet. Great Attainment meditation is a non-reflective meditation. What does that mean? To illustrate that, I'm going to need a visual aid. Visual aid is a phrase I couldn't remember last night, and now I do, much to my joy. Or if you're a fan of Monty Python's Monty Python and the Holy Grail, then you'll remember the line, and there was much rejoicing. Okay, so not great attainment meditation is a non-reflective meditation. So I'm going to tap button 9, and I'm going to show you this. Not everything that is labeled as meditation is a form of meditation that the Buddha would recognize as being so potent that it could induce us to effortlessly master his eightfold path in as little as 7 days. That is the litmus test. Case in point, there is so much confusion on the subject of meditation. Just as a lighthouse perched upon the treacherous rocky shores of our nation's continental shelf protects ships running aground, I found that a rudimentary understanding of neuroscience protects us from metaphorically shooting ourselves in the foot, or more precisely, stepping upon the landmines that others have left for us. So, I don't know about you, but my first meditation teachers were I'm not going to say they were uptight, but if they fell backwards onto a pile of coal, they would toot out diamonds. You see, Sturgeon's law reminds us that 90% of everything sucks. That suckiness has many labels. That suckiness could look like yang, or patriarchy, or rightism, or being an acolyte of the real or mythical individual known as the Buddha's foolish cousin. I don't know about you, but I was raised to be rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. I was taught this overtly through word and by the example of my mother, my stepfather, my sister, who had far less brain damage than myself, and the authority figures I was indoctrinated with, teachers and principals and doctors, oh my. So it should therefore come as little surprise that many, many decades ago, when I first sought out a teacher from the Tibetan tradition, the odds dictated that I would probably find a teacher who was also rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel, for he too had been indoctrinated by teachers who were rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. This is one of the constants found in the entirety of human history. Now, this is often known as patriarchy, but I refer to this as metaphoric patriarchy or religious patriarchy. But regardless of the shape of one's reproductive organs, one can still be defined by being rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. Folly is an equal opportunity phenomena. You will find folly in the majority, in all humans from time to time, regardless of gender or skin color or cultural background or language with which they speak. Folly is a constant in the human experience. When I first started studying with the utmost of enthusiasm Buddhism, I was told by earnest teachers that we must focus and analyze, and that it was only by focusing and analyzing to such a degree in reliance upon our medial and dorsolateral prefrontal cortex that we could ever hope to master the Buddha's path in the length of time equal to the birth, sustenance, death, and break time of the universal cycle known as a kalpa, repeated 3 times. Even though good old Buddha taught that one could master his path in as little as 7 days. The cranky motherfuckers did not get the message. Mother did I for many years. So, like everyone else in my group, who was taught to overfocus and overanalyze, I did what I was told with the utmost of enthusiasm. One of the cool things about my disabilities is I'm basically a canary in a coal mine. I'm a bullshit detector. And when I take action towards a goal and I get shitty results, I cannot hide from that. It's not because I'm this great, what's this word? Paragon. I'm not a great paragon of intellectual integrity. It's just that folks who have autism have a physiological need to be honest with ourselves and others. We don't have a choice in the matter. It's how we are wired. So I couldn't help but noticing that when I overfocused and overanalyzed, I began presenting with the symptoms of depression as well as triggering my amygdala, the seat of anxiety and aggression. Now, as someone who with both ADHD and autism, I'd been struggling with meltdowns my entire life. Meltdowns are just a very, there's a fancy word for it when you take something ugly and give it a pretty label. Euphemism. That's just a euphemism for having a psychotic break. When I was a little boy, I was picking up trash cans and throwing them through walls. Little boys aren't supposed to act like Dr. Bruce Banner. So my entire life has been defined by my desire not to be a monster. So imagine the dark irony of spending time and effort learning this contemplative system only to have it worsen my anxiety and aggression. This was pointed out to me by my former wife. May she be healthy and happy. She put up with a lot of my folly. I will always be grateful to her. There's some good news, though. It took me years to learn this, and I want your learning curve to be steeper than mine, which sounds bad, but what really means I want you to learn what I learned quicker and easier than it was for me. I want your journey to be better than mine. What I learned was that neither the amygdala nor the prefrontal cortex constitute the entirety of our central nervous system. Excuse me, and a big chunk, a forgotten chunk, an ignored chunk of that central nervous system is our autonomic nervous system. Which is so important to our peace and our love and our spiritual development that the ancients refer to it as our Buddha nature. Dun, dun, dun. So, what is this hunk of tissue that has the spooky name or the spooky nickname of our Buddha nature? Well, it's basically our spinal cord and everything it's wired to. It's kind of like the internet. The internet connects to our smartphones and to our computers. And even though it connects to them, literally our computers and our smartphones aren't part of the internet. I know, it's funny. But anyway, Our autonomic nervous system is our spinal cord. The center bits are known as the sympathetic aspect, and the end bits are known as the parasympathetic nervous system. Welcome to science, where we like complicated labels. Ding! So, focus and analysis are known by many names. In English, they're sometimes described as concentration and contemplation. Being an amateur writer, I love it when words begin with the same consonant. That's called alliteration, or being a word nerd. In Sanskrit, they are sometimes described as samatha and vipassana. And a lot of stupid Americans think, oh, well, it's a foreign language, it must be awesome. No, because we can find the Pali word for shit, but it's still shit. Doggy Doo, by any other name, still smells as horrible. Beware the doggy doo. So, we are told the meditation that enlightens is not a reflective meditation. We're not using the word reflect in a literal sense, the way a mirror reflects my face when I waddle into the bathroom first thing in the morning. We're talking about the act of reflecting, which is a synonym for active analysis or contemplation. What we're being reminded by the author of the text, Prahe Vajra, is that if you want to be a cranky bastard, if you want to become the king of being rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel, then analysis is right up your alley. But if you don't want to be that way, if you'd rather be as flexible, loving, rational, laid-back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind as the Buddha, whether or not he was a real or archetypical person, then that path won't work for you. If you, like me, want to be the person that your dog already thinks you are, then neither over-focus or over-analyze is your pal. So, how do we do this thing? Well, the first thing we learn is this. Every time we inhale, whether we mean to or not, we are wired to automatically access the sympathetic nervous system in the middle of our spinal cord, which is evolved to help us to notice in a very special way. It is evolved to help us to notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. Notice what? Notice mind's antics of perception. You know, seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, smelling, and the like, including emotions, intentions, cognitions, recollections, and imaginings. No, our job is not to pick and choose what we notice, but to notice vulnerably, randomly, which means we are vulnerable to all objects and phenomena, the external, the internal, the physical, the mental, the pleasurable, the painful, the interesting, the boring, the glorious, and the grotesque. The reasonable question would be, what do we do with that which we notice? Every time we exhale, we are wired to automatically access the end bits of our spinal cord, known as our parasympathetic nervous system, or parasympathetic facet of our autonomic nervous system, which have evolved to help us to physically relax and mentally release to such a degree that That which we noticed during our previous inhalation could fleetingly feel less stressful, less permanent, and less defining. And because we have all evolved to think symbolically, there is a metaphor for this. The metaphor is that as we relax into our exhalation, that which we noticed during our previous inhalation could feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Any good English teacher will remind us that a simile is only as useful as it is relatable. Therefore, we have to ask the question, what is a real-world example of a non-graspable vast empty void? How about the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although could look tantalizing to the eye, feels non-graspable to the hand. The meditation that works, the meditation that's potent, is the non-reflective meditation. The car that works is the car that's full of gasoline and not sand. The meditation that works is the meditation that notices and relaxes in harmony with our inhalation and our exhalation, and not that which spins its tires over focusing and over analyzing. Now, if you're half as smart as I hope you are, you've probably already thought, hey, Lama Jigme, you weird looking fellow, are you telling me I'm not supposed to ever concentrate or ever think? No. Think of it this way. A hammer is really useful for certain things. It's great for pounding nails. It's terrible for plucking an eyelash out of your eye. The Dalai Lama has a saying which translates as, nonviolent solutions seem an impossibility until the mosquito alights upon your testicles. The inference is because if you smack the shit out of that mosquito, you'll be injuring yourself and have a very bad hour afterwards. So similarly, there's a time for clapping, but not every instance requires a clap. The more we practice mindfulness and meditation, even as little as 5 minutes once every 12 hours or so, the more we practice mindfulness and meditation, the more we notice the play of mind and relax into its non-graspable nature in harmony with our inhalation and our exhalation, the more we'll notice that our choices, utterances, and deeds flow not from scatteredness, but from centered spontaneity. That is when we'll know. That is when we'll intuit when it's time to focus, and when it's time to analyze, and when it's not. I am not unique in this observation. Einstein, one of the greatest physicists of the last century, explained that creativity was intelligence at play. When we look at the biographies of the great Nobel laureates, they say the same thing. They're smart, they used their resources to go at a problem, they hit a brick wall, they walked away from the problem, and then the solution came to them. So it wasn't, we have to cooperate with the entirety of our brain if we're going to have fulfilling, happy, satisfying lives where we actually contribute to the world around us. Now let's return to this morning's opening text. Great attainment meditation is a non-reflective meditation. Beyond the experience of reflection and purification, pristine awareness arises from discursive thought itself. This is a delicious passage. Beyond the practices of focus and analysis, and beyond the folly of ritualism and superstition, awareness or mindfulness and pristine or meditation arises from something else. What does it rise from? Brace yourself for an irony. From discursive thought itself. What does that mean? Glad you asked. Remember we talked about the cavalcade of shedheads who tell us that we must concentrate upon one thing or nothing at all. And if a thought comes up, we must hammer it into submission. These are the people whose faces perpetually look like they've been stuck in a lemon. Okay, this is not unique. There have always been cranky bastards who give bad advice, sometimes without knowing it's bad advice. What this great Buddhist reformer is explaining is this. Thought, even discursive thought, even thought that we didn't think deliberately, spontaneous thought, is not the enemy of meditation. Au contraire, it is the fuel of meditation. People often ask me, what do I do if I find myself thinking during meditation? The answer is going to be annoying, so brace yourself for it. Notice the thought as you breathe in. Relax as best you can as you breathe out. The path of the Buddha is our passive cooperation with our autonomic nervous system, which is most easily practiced thusly. As we feel our bodies breathing in, silently and mentally we could recite the demonstrative pronoun this. As we feel our bodies breathing out, silently and mentally we could recite the one-syllable verb ease. Doing so does not force our central nervous system to notice and relax, for our central nervous system has already evolved to notice and relax. The mental recitation of these one-syllable words is simply how we cooperate, how we passively cooperate with our factory-installed programming. There are people who say, no, I must not think. Way back in the 80s, when the crust of the earth was still cooling. Way back in the 80s, there was a new wave band called X, and they sang. This is before Elon Musk and Twitter, and they sang, I must not think bad thoughts. And they sang it in a way that was a mockery of the sensibilities of the 50s and early 60s. The post-war hyper-conservatism typified by the folly of Joseph McCarthy. So they were mocking all of that with the 6-word phrase, I must not think bad thoughts, which was deliciously subversive. We really thought we were clever back in the 80s. So it doesn't matter if we're noticing the physical or the mental. It doesn't matter if we're noticing thoughts, from the sharp thoughts to the dull thoughts, to the brilliant thoughts to the stupid thoughts. It doesn't matter if we're noticing emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, or imaginings. Everything everything from the glorious to the grotesque fuels our practice of noticing and releasing. Having completed this morning's lesson, we could now shift gears. Good morning, Julian. To you, I give a Yoda high five. Everyone gets a Yoda high five. You get a Yoda high five. You get a Yoda high five. Everyone gets a Yoda high five. That's my Oprah imitation. It is Luke Skywalker Friday morning. Come, let us meditate like a Jedi after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is the Dzogchen Sende Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. I'm a big old weirdo, so for more than 30 years, I've been harnessing my autistic special interests as well as my ADHD hyperfocus so that I could spend about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that I could become your personal, nerdy, neurodivergent, where's my hand, guide to nirvana. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. For the remainder of this morning's live stream, let's play with the, oopsie, wrong button, the latest iteration of very easy meditation. By the way, all these learning materials, all these practice materials are available for free download just by playing with the links in the description area below the video. Everything I do is free because I'm stupid that way. All right, here we go. Let's sit as sustainably as we know how. Let us keep track of our first collection of 144 inhalations by resting the great knuckle at the base of our right middle finger upon the tip of our left middle finger, palms up in our lap. We could keep track of our first bonus set of 12 inhalations on our right hand. Each time we inhale, we can advance our right thumb. 1, 2, 3 inhalations, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 inhalations. Let's do that right now. Upon our left hand, we can count 12 sets of 12 inhalations each. Thusly, 1, 2, 3 sets of 12 inhalations each. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 sets of 12 inhalations each. Now you might say, hey, Lama Jigme, you oddly dressed fellow, this is really ungainly. Yes, everything new we try learning is ungainly the first time we do it. Play with this exercise once every 12 hours, and after a week or two, it'll be effortless. To keep track of our second collection of 12 sets of 12 inhalations each, we could rest the great knuckle at the base of our right index finger, upon the tip of our left index finger, palms up in our lap. You have taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 11 hours, I would very much like to return to lead today's dusk meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.